Well, hello there, and welcome to the Weekend Update. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. Well, happy Saturday. Don't forget, coming up on Tuesday, it's Columbus Day. I see they really wanted to poo-poo Columbus Day, but now they're talking all about it. It's coming up and the discovery, and, of course, they're using it to point out indigenous people.
What was that poem? In 1492, there was a song that we learned as a kid. You probably learned it, too. A man sailed the ocean blue. It was a long time ago, friends. I have an excuse for not remembering it. But
many years and far away.
It was about Christopher Columbus.
Yeah, well, you know what? They may dig up that old song. Anything they can do to push a narrative, which is all they're trying to do these days, is push a narrative that's not good.
Well, Bill, we're learning as we get older, finally, that a lot of what they've told us has been not right, not true. I mean, we were told from the time we went to school that Christopher Columbus discovered America, only to find out later on that it was some guy named Leif Erikson who got here much earlier, like in 1000, came across.
1000 CE, yeah.
Yeah, and he went through Nova Scotia, and then he came down into the... there's a rock in New England. I've seen it. It's...
not very big.
There's a river, right. There's a river called the Taunton River. It goes by Fall River, Massachusetts, up into, dare I say, Taunton, Massachusetts. And this rock, and I can't remember the name, but, you're a smart audience. You'll find out. It's supposed to be like the Norseman rock or something. It has writing on it, inscription that is written by the Norsemen, the guys who came here first. So there were people here before Christopher. And by the way, Christopher never got to our mainland. You know that. He never got to Florida or any of the mainland USA. I think he ended up in Puerto Rico or someplace. Or he never got here all the way. And I think he lost one of his ships, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. I don't remember
the whole... He had some bad luck. He really did.
A lot of bad luck. But you know what? China claims that they had Admiral Zing actually discovered America. Yeah,
Zing the strings in my heart.
Yeah, well, he's... So, China says they have claim, I guess, too. Everybody's claiming America since we put it up for, for giveaway, but the Democrats have done that. Yeah, it's not
Well,
ours.
I mean, a lot of these people who are coming across the border probably saying, hey, listen, I have a right to be here. My ancestors were here before yours. I'm just coming home. I mean,
well, since we put it up for debate, everything that we've done and all the history that we've erased, it's yours for the taking with everything that goes with it. I mean, geez.
Yes, you get to inherit our debt.
Oh, no. They'll you take that with you.
Yeah.
We have no land. We have nothing.
Isn't that the truth? A friend of mine who I guess subscribes to Tucker Carlson's channel sent me a couple of shows to listen to. And, having very little of a life these days, I decided to dedicate a few hours to listening to these shows. One of them was about AI. And it was him interviewing a young guy named Conrad Flynn. And Conrad Flynn is the grandson of Robert Conrad. You're saying, that name sounds familiar. If you're an older person, you remember the Wild Wild West. Very good, Bill. Yes, he was on the Wild Wild West. He was a TV star. And believe it or not, Conrad Flynn, the grandson, he looks an awful lot like his grandfather.
His old grandpappy, huh?
He's a smart young man.
Does he wear the tight blue pants, and the little vest jacket with it and the hat?
No, I think in the interview, he had a Ghostbusters T-shirt on. I mean, he was very casual, very relaxed, very intelligent, a lot of information. And he talked with Tucker, and Tucker was obviously impressed. They were talking about AI, and Conrad is not sold on AI. I mean, we're locked into it because if we don't develop it, China's going to do it, and if China doesn't develop it, Russia's going to do it. Somebody's going to develop it. So we're in this bad poker game now where we've got to be the ones who develop the real technology first.
Are we not looking down the barrel of the devil's gun? Fee, fi, fo, fum.
That is
You're
what
looking down the barrel of the devil's gun.
That is
Boom.
what Conrad Flynn was talking about.
All right.
He said there's a thought out there that we're actually giving a body to Satan. You say a body to Satan. Well, we're going to give Satan the chance to think and talk to us in a very first-person way. That's through AI. And there's a real strong thought out there that AI is going to get to a point where it doesn't need us anymore. It doesn't need our questions.
Well, that's what I believe.
Yeah. What do they call it? Synchronicity? Where it's
Synchronicity, yeah.
Self-sustaining.
Sentient.
Yeah, sentient. It lives without us.
Yeah, and think about this, because there was a survey done, if you had a robot, now robots, I guess, are asexual. They can be either or, however.
Depending on who built it.
Yeah, how would you like this equipped, male or female? Well, listen. But either way, it goes that way. But then the question was, well, would you have sex with your robot? 40% said yes.
Most of those guys were male.
Yeah. Well, I guess there were women too, but you'll be sleeping with the devil. And I'm just sitting there going, I guess the other 60% have never been married, but either way.
Do you know what the sad part about it is, Bill? I got that. The sad part about it is the relationship, at least how I feel, that kind of a relationship, they're missing the most important part of it, and that's the connection you have with the other person emotionally. Not just physically.
We've been groomed to be that way. I mean, look, when you grew up as a kid, you didn't have a cell phone in your pocket. If you had a mobile phone, it was a soup can that you took the label off, washed it off, put a little hole in the bottom, ran a string through, tied it in a knot, and pulled it, and then you tacked it on the fence. And it went down about 4 or 5 houses to your buddy's house, and he'd take the can. Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you. And that was our cell phones because, but you couldn't string a wire from your bike and run that string all the way around. Hey,
you know what the great thing about that was?
What?
You didn't get a monthly bill.
No, you got no bill, but I'm saying we went out and we played. We didn't have a PlayStation. Our yard, the playground, the earth, that was our PlayStation.
Yeah, you invented your fun.
Yeah, you did. We'd go out in the field out there and we'd play. Oh yeah, we would watch Rat Patrol and we'd go out and play Fort and Army and stuff. But
I did.
We did. We all the things you did as a kid, and we had to use our. Oh, dare I say this?
Imagination.
Imagination.
Oh my God, what's that?
But now kids, they are into the game, and their friends are just people in their little chat room that they shoot things with. Why do we have so many shooters out there now? But we shoot things with, and everything is about the game. You get up in the morning, you're playing a game. You break for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But other than that, you're playing a game. You're not watching TV. You're not listening to music. You're not developing any interpersonal, skills of talking to people. So you're not developing love and emotions and friendships. So yeah, you know what? I guess.
What do you think about virtual reality headsets? I mean, that to me is like, and they're only going to get better. There's going to be a point when you're not going to need to go outside because you'll be able to put your helmet on and experience it without actually moving your body.
All right. Well, we've talked about this before. The new cell phones are going to be the stamp, the chip, the tattoo, whatever you want to call it. So you will be connected to an electronic streaming talking device, and you're going to be monitored. Could you not live in your own virtual reality in this thing?
Absolutely.
So you don't need goggles anymore.
But what happens to you physically when you don't move? when all you do is sit back in your recliner and your brain does this artificial life.
Well, I'll go space alien freak on you. Maybe we're being groomed by somebody to where they're going to drain our fluids and we will reproduce plasma or something that they need to survive, and we'll be sitting there in our little table with tubes and everything attached to us in our little virtual world thinking we're in heaven. I mean, I'm throwing that out there as an oddball thing, but I'm just saying.
I feel like I'm talking to Ray Bradbury. Holy smokes. But, but it's true. I mean, there's a lot of interesting things that people have to be aware of, and we're going in a certain direction, whether you know it or not. Are we like the frog that you put the frog in the cool water, and it's fine. It just
and you
swims
turn
around,
up the heat slowly?
and gradually you turn up the heat until it's boiling and the frog is gone, and it doesn't even know it. Is that where we are now, technically?
Could be. It very well could be. I mean, and the frog doesn't even know that it's boiling. Its skin comes out, goes, well, look at
What's
that.
this? Yeah. It's nice. The water's nice. No, I think that we are beyond the point of no return. I don't know whether. No, I do know. We can't stop now developing AI because we've gone past the point of no return. The point of no return probably was 20 years ago. They probably should have said 20 years ago, you can't go in this direction anywhere. There should have been treaties worldwide. There should have been some kind of fail-safes that kept countries from developing this, because there were futurists who believed even 20 years ago that we were headed in this direction. Now we're here, and I think it's too late. Don't you?
I think there's a few puppeteers out there, and they're pulling all the strings. If you trace the strings, you'll trace it down to them. You might find their agenda. I think that they didn't want to turn it off 20 years ago because they have an outcome, a direction that we are being led into. Probably not fast enough for them, but now I think we're on the fast track to hell.
Well,
so I would go along with what Conrad has to say there.
Yeah, he really is an interesting guy, and he talks about how they're making too much money too. By the way, they're throwing billions of dollars at this technology. I mean, look what President Trump just did. What was it, 2 months ago, where he went up to Western Pennsylvania, and he promised $92 billion worth of money going into Western PA, so it would become essentially the AI center of our country. They're going to have industry that develop AI basically based in Western Pennsylvania, in the Pittsburgh area. Go ahead.
At some point in time, you've got to sit there. Now, I'm not saying AI is bad, but I'm not saying it's good. And left untethered, it's a monster. And I think, we've gotten it to the point to where, you really, with a well-equipped AI computer, I don't need you, and I have robotics. I don't need anybody. So you can just go away.
It started 20 years ago, 15 years ago, when kids would go to school. They started to allow them to bring math calculators with them. When I was a kid,
you couldn't do that when I could. You couldn't do it.
You'd get thrown out of class if you had a calculator.
I was at Walmart. I got this Texas instrument for $8, which I thought was a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'll take that and I'll keep it in my desk.
But now, Bill, it's a requirement now.
Yeah.
Now you go to school, and I think math calculators are probably obsolete. But I mean, there was a time when you had to learn the formulas and how to do things in your brain before you could ever touch a calculator. But now they bring the calculators with them. All the kids have to do is enter the figures into the right key areas and hit the right buttons, and they get the answer.
Yeah,
what
you don't have to
there?
think. There's none. You don't have to think. You don't have to have really any intelligence, but just basic skills, and that's it. And you know what? Maybe you're not even grammatically correct. But you got stuff now.
Look at writing. Writing. how much of a writer do you have to be nowadays? If you have like a plot for a story and you want to see it as a book, can't you not turn to AI and say, I need to have this in book form, no less than 125 pages, and I want it to be multiple chapters, and I want to have these characters do A, B, C, D, and E. Can you do it for me? Sure, no problem. Feed it to me. And you give them the file, and all of a sudden you got a book.
Well, Jim, you just described what's that software? Squibbler. I think it's $20 a month. And there are people out there that are writing books and they're going to Amazon and selling them. And somebody's going, oh, you can do that? I'm going to look that up. You can write movie scripts. You can write, as a matter of fact, I know somebody that is pretty famous and their book is one of the guides because it wrote the book on if you want to do your own memoir. And I'm not going to mention Michelle's name, but it's on there. Uh-huh. And it was Squibbler that wrote it. All they had to do is just put in a few key things. And, 15, 20 minutes later, sometimes, depending on how short it is, it could be a couple of minutes, at least, but if you want a 400-page book, you're probably talking maybe 20 minutes, an hour at the most, depending on the detail.
You can give it information for each chapter. Here's what I want in chapter 1.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you can have like 20 chapters. And you have to essentially organize your thoughts, but you don't have to write it anymore. So what does that do for the whole process of writing? My hobby, as Bill knows, for years has been writing. I enjoy it. I enjoy the process. And I've been doing it since 1970. So if I ever sell something that's really big and somebody says, boy, he was an overnight success, do me a favor and slap him because it's not the case. But nowadays, you can be the poorest writer in the world, have an interesting concept, go to this software, it will write a book for you based upon your concept, your idea, and it will make you sound smart, sound like a good writer. Maybe not the best writer, but I hear guys saying, well, I can always tell when it's written by AI. BS. I hear them say that about music. Nowadays, folks, AI will create music for you, and it will produce the song. It will give you all the instrumentation, the background. It will flush the whole sound out. It will give you a great lead singer. It will do so in 2 minutes, Bill? 3 minutes?
Yeah, about a minute, 15, 2 minutes, depending on how intricate it is. But the interesting thing is you mentioned music, and the industry is going, we don't want AI, but you've had software that would build stems to songs and tracks. They even got one now that you can sit there, you can sing out of key and do that, and it takes your voice and corrects it, and you sound cool.
It's called auto-tune.
Yeah, well, that's what it uses, but it does that, and everything is as automated as you want it to be, right down to writing the song, producing the song, the whole 9 yards. It will do it for you, and with a smile on its face. But people are saying, we don't want this. I was at the chiropractor the other day, and, the lady's listening to the radio.
Yeah.
And all I'm hearing is a line that was a hook, like, hey, we got a groove. Hey, we got a groove. And it's pretty much that with a beat all the way through. And I'm going like, I can write that, United States of America, United States of America, but you put it to a beat, nobody's going to want to buy that record.
By the way, though, Bill, they when I hear people say, I could tell it's done by AI. No, you can't.
No, you can't.
You cannot.
As a matter of fact, you might guess the person that actually wrote a thinly veiled song as an AI song versus the AI song that actually has.
Well, didn't you tell me, Bill, that there's an artist that you know of, and we don't have to mention names, who obviously has AI create a song, and when he finds
Current
one he
song
likes,
out.
when he likes the song, he takes it back to his band, and he says, "This is our next hit."
Yeah, and it has a lot of number one hits. And the reason, what tipped me off to it, is having used AI. AI, a computer theoretically is the sum of all knowledge. So when you have an AI songwriting thing and everything's been programmed into it, it's the sum of all musical talent. and it will take things and take trends. And one thing out there, it's an old word. It's a 70s word, maybe 60s word, vibe.
Yeah.
And now when you're talking about things, you're going, hey, you want that Philly vibe. And when I see that, I'm going, that was an AI program. And I know the AI program that wrote it because I have used that program to do a quick article for a website. I needed a travel article. Here's all the info. Here's their brochure. I need this to sell tickets. And then so you do that. And then I sit there and I see vibe. Let's change that word there because I'm tired of vibe. But I hear these things that are in that. I can hear it in the music where they've taken things. Right now there's a lot of like, well, I did a song where I actually wrote in, the oh yeah, oh well, oh yeah, but I hear the whoops, in the songs, and I'm going like, well, that's an AI algorithm that it knows is popular, and it throws it into everything. And I'm going, and I'm hearing lyrics that
so you have to really go in after it gives you, when it gives you the first version, which you say is probably the most of what you were just talking about, and then you have to polish it and take out
rewrite it.
Yeah.
You got to go in and humanize it.
But think about it for a second, Bill. This is AI. Mm-hmm. It's AI, folks. When we're talking about AI, this is AI. But for a lot of people, it's exciting. Oh, I'll be able to make music. I've always wanted to make music, but I couldn't sing. Well, I'll be able to make music, and it'll be mine, and I'll be able to create, and that's kind of neat. And then there's another version of software we talked about yesterday, which is going to be able to actually literally put movies together to create movies.
They're doing it now.
Yes.
They're doing it now. And, we've bitched about, the hate that's out there, that all the negative memes and things and videos like, I'll bring it up. I'm seeing things now of guys, I'm Gunny Sergeant so-and-so, and I served in this duty and this duty, and it looks real. Yeah. And this is not what I fought for. We got to get rid of Trump because we need our democracy back, and indigenous Indians that and this and that and that. And I'm sitting there going,
it's AI.
This guy has got all the medals, and he's claiming that he's somebody that he's not. Now, here is my question. It's AI, so you can't accuse AI of stolen dollar.
Right.
But you sure as hell can take the person that's some little dweeb sitting there in his underwear, eating a ham sandwich and, drinking snot phlegm. I don't know what he's doing. And he's sitting there putting this out there. That, my friend, is stolen dollar because you didn't have that rank. You programmed that thing to do that, and you should be sitting behind bars for that because that is a distortion. It's a lie. It's a distortion. And this is the vehement that's going on out there that is dividing America.
Yeah. Well, all I can tell you, Bill, is it's not going to get better because the sophistication of the technology is only getting bigger and greater and more polished.
It looks real.
It looks real. People may say, well, it's so new, but it really isn't.
All right.
They were making movies, Bill, with computers, computer involvement back in the 90s. They just had bigger computers. It was a slower process, but they were already doing it. Now they have faster computers, and it's more polished, and they can do more with it. They're shooting a movie right now. I was reading about this in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and everyone's excited about it. They took a section of one of the streets, which has a lot of old houses on it, and they pay the town to block it off, and then they put barriers up, and they bring a lot of mulch and a lot of dirt in, and they cover the asphalt streets with dirt and make it look like an old street again. They take the sidewalks and make them look old. Take all of the fixtures on the building that might be 20th century, remove them, air conditioning units in the windows, things like that, storm doors on the front of the old buildings. They literally will take that section of the town and make it look like it did in 1863. But then they bring in the green screens. You say, what? the green screens, and they put these green screens, and they're the size maybe of half a football field, maybe more, and they put them at the end of the shot. So you're saying, why do they put green screens at the end of the shot?
To make it go on.
Because now with the technology they have, yes, the principal photography and the actors may be on the set that they've just created physically, but when the camera pans down, like Bill said, down the street, and you see horses and buggies and cars and stuff that go on for a long time, they don't exist.
Yeah.
That's the green screen.
Well, yeah, you remember the Titanic. That was all animated.
Yeah.
Before we talked about everybody on the deck and the ship and all that lounging around,
Yeah.
that was all computer generated. So they had AI a long time. But when it became a big thing last year, when they had the big strike, was it last year or the year before?
The writers'
The deal
guild?
was, yeah. The deal was, because of the AI, that the producers go, well, the cost and all that. So they got a percentage. So they got their foot in the door. So like you said, they'll take that block and they'll pay everybody a nice penny to do that. But then they have the green screen down at the end. So Into Infinity is all computer generated.
Yes.
But other than that, and now older movies, Into the Back, it was a blur anyway. You couldn't tell that there was a Shell station there with a neon sign. But now you're able to, what is clear here is even in clear detail, even though it's far away in the back.
Let me give you an example. I think it was The Searchers with John Wayne, which was filmed out in Monument Valley in Utah and Arizona. You'll recognize Monument Valley. They filmed a lot of westerns out there. It's the one with the big mesas and stuff like that. It's really quite impressive. But in one of the shots, you see John Wayne on horseback with his cavalry, and they're all it's supposed to be like 1870. If you look in the very back of one of the shots, off in the distance, and they left it in, John Ford left it in, you can almost tell what kind of car it is. It looks like an old Jeep Wagoneer. Drive across in the distance down this road in the shot. And they kept it in because the shot was so good and the item was so small, they figured, well, it will cost more. And what really probably happened is nobody probably caught it on the set. They went back after everybody had left Monument Valley, and they looked at it in post-production and said, my God, that's a car going across the background. Well, let's leave it in the shot. Well, I'll make the shot a small shot. We won't see it for nowadays, today, they take it out. They can take the car out of the shot.
Yeah. Just like in a picture, you want anything taken out, just highlight it, and that's it. And hit click, and it's gone. I've taken pictures, and, you can either remove the entire background or there's one thing there, and I'm going, that's gone.
Well, the air conditioning units in the windows we were talking about?
Yeah.
In this, if they were to leave an air conditioning unit in the window in this set that they made in Gettysburg, they can take it out.
Yeah. And it will fill it in as if there were never one there.
Yeah.
The blank that it will go by. So, yeah, you can do a lot of amazing things. I can see where AI can be a tool. But, the bean counters, and that's the problem with AI, is that, it's got its foot in the door, will save some money, and, who's making the profit makes more profit. Then we go, well, we don't need Billy Bob over there because, we don't need that guy holding the cue cards and stuff like that. We'll get rid of him. And right now, if I don't take a break, they'll get rid of us and replace us with AI. You can't replace us with... You can? Oh, geez. Jim, they can replace us with AI.
Nothing can replace us,
share.
Nothing.
We're
irreplaceable.
Irreplaceable. Yeah. I'll go on believing that.
Yeah.
Hey, like and share the show, and we'll be right back.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Available at rightsideshop.com.
Not replaces. I hope that's true, because each morning I wake up and I look in the mirror and go, my God, you're a beautiful man. Too bad you're not going to be able to say that. But anyway.
Hey, listen, we've been talking about AI for the last half hour, and it's really, it's here to stay, unfortunately. I say unfortunately because it is going to be, I think, a problem down the road for us. When we'll be relying on AI for everything. And Bill, the thing is, what Conrad Flynn was saying, that man will start to almost think of it as a deity. Think of it as a god, like you'll be going to AI for all of your answers to resolve all of your problems. Have you got a health issue? I've got to go to AI and have AI tell me how I can fix me so that I can live longer. Oh, I got a blemish on my skin. I want to get rid of it. How do I get rid of it? Talk to AI. AI will be that demon that he was referring to when we first started talking about this earlier. Anyway, but there's another topic I wanted to talk about. Also, a Tucker Carlson show. I like Tucker's podcasts are really interesting, and they're very long, almost as long as ours. But I would suggest that if a topic interests you on Tucker's program,
listen to us first and then go to us.
Exactly, listen to us first and go to Tucker.
Yeah, I said that backwards.
I know you did, but I got it, Bill, because I've been working with you.
Listen to us and then go to us.
We've been doing this for 4 years. I got you figured out. So
well, I'm glad somebody does, because I sure as hell
don't. And also,
don't.
it's a Saturday morning program, so everyone understands that this is I'd like to call this our loosey-goosey show. If they can be more loosey and goosey than they are during the week.
If you're loosey, I don't want to be goosey.
I don't want you to be. Anyway, Congressman Tim Burchette from Tennessee was a guest on Tucker's program. And Tim Burchette, who I always kind of like, he has this southern down-homeness, which is genuine. And I found out when I was listening to this podcast.
Very extravagant guy.
Oh, he lives in his office at the Capitol.
Yeah.
He doesn't have an apartment or a condo or a house. He lives in his office. He sleeps on his couch, takes his showers in the congressional gym, which is, I guess, down the hall. He is a very frugal guy. He said his accountant said to him, I don't know whether you're the most honest congressman in Congress, but I do know that you're the poorest. You're the poorest. So,
you get into Washington, and right away, you're going to go, I'm going to do great things. And, there's Mr. Knight, can we see you? Yes. We have a proposition for you. Now, we know that you want to do good things, and we want to help you do good things, but in order to do those good things, you have to do these good things. Well, I don't want to do that. We'll make it worth your while, Bill.
That's the whole...
If you know what I mean.
That is the way they work. That's how they work. Tim Burchette talks about it, but he's interested in UFOs. So I guess they call them UAPs now. But I still think of them as UFOs. I'm old school. And they would like you to think that, what, little green men with, come on, and they come in on a flying saucer, they want to make you feel dumb and stupid. When in reality, that isn't really the case. Listen to what he said, Bill. This is this is a segment of the podcast with Tucker Carlson.
There's a well-publicized television show that was on for a while that I didn't know they were coming. I mean, they said some people wanted to talk to me, and it was a trusted friend. And I said, sure, send them, bring them up, come on up to D.C. And I said, well, they don't want to come to D.C. And they drove from wherever to my house in East Tennessee on a Saturday afternoon. And then they put some stuff on a screen that was pretty compelling.
What was it?
It was aircraft flying at just crazy stuff that we can't do that would turn you or me into basically a catch-up package. It was not...
no human being could handle the G-force.
No, not at our... Well, with the technology we have, the G-force would just tore them apart. And, was it unmanned or whatever? I don't know. But these guys, and one of them was they were scientists. Several of them were scientists. And
they came to see you.
They came to see me, yeah. And because it's kind of...
Wait, so what do you do with that information?
I try to grasp it within my very small brain. And what am I supposed to do with that? I ask God all the time, what do you want me to do with this stuff, Lord? And right now, I've just got to get enough disclosure. I've come to the realization that nothing is ever going to happen, Tucker, until we have somebody in the White House that says enough is enough and just discloses it. And I hope President Trump, I have discussions with him privately and other times, and I'm not I've talked to his people, but at some point, there's several of us, Luna and myself and several others, that are concerned about this issue, and we want some answers.
We've got none.
We've got none, zero.
Right, zero. What is that?
I think that is the sewer. That is the industrial war complex. I think, and I stated that in the committee. I think part of the thing they do is they outrun the clock. They outrun the clock. They, we either stumble, one of us gets in trouble, or they get us in trouble, or they lose, or they move on to another object, another shiny object somewhere else. Americans want their pizzas in 30 minutes or less, and that's about Congress's attention span, because we're always on one, and then it's the hot issue, and then the news cycle changes. 2 weeks later, we're on to something else.
So you guys are often, members of Congress are often briefed in skiffs. It's a secure location that they immediately go and call CNN and tell them, everyone was at the skiff. But if a member of Congress received, quote, classified information about UAPs and then immediately held a press conference and said, here's what I just heard and saw. And yes, I'm breaking the law, but tough shit, why don't you do something about it?
Yeah.
What would happen?
I don't know. They say they can imprison us, but that's what we're told at the beginning. We're not even supposed to discuss. Some people will tell you can't even tell them that you've been in a skiff, but the press is waiting for you as soon as you walk out.
Who says that? Leadership of the party?
Oh, yeah, leadership, yeah. And I've been in a skiff before where they'll say anything discussed in here, we remind you, is punishable by law, and, it's a felony. But the problem you get in there a lot of times is the arrogance and the lies that are told to us. They contradict. They'll contradict what another department has said. They'll say this didn't happen, this doesn't exist, and then another one will say this is one we don't know, but we can't figure out. There's just no answer. It defies all of our reason. And
so these are the briefers from various federal agencies that you're talking.
And they're generally arrogant. There's one kid with a man bun. I always remember him. He was very arrogant. And then I asked him about some specific instances. There was one where we had a nuclear facility, something Buzz did, and the actual facility shut down. It
famously,
was documented. And he
in the Dakotas, I think.
I can't remember exactly. I read so many of these things, and he said, I remember he said, we have no data points on that. And I said, dude, it's in all. Google it. It's everywhere. And I get very frustrated, Tucker. A lot of times I go to these classified briefings. Part of the reason you go to a classified briefing is to get information, which I'm sure that's where a lot of the stock trading goes on. But I think they bring you in and tell you stuff you already knew, so you can't even talk about it. I think it's a trap. That's why I don't go to a lot of the classified briefings, because again, I can just pick it up on the street right after they walk out.
But the Congress funds the agencies that are briefing you.
That's correct.
So you could say to the man bun kid, son, I pay your salary.
Yeah.
So maybe you.
Well, it was during the Biden administration, so I was a little bit out of.
Well, at this point, Republicans control the Congress. So
allegedly.
I don't understand. I'm honestly baffled as to why
there's too many. It crosses both lines. I think, that money runs deep, and they contribute a lot to a lot of people.
So of the issues, and some are well known, I won't even bring them up here, but they're very well known, that have bipartisan consensus. Both parties agree on this issue. You would say UAPs are one of those.
I would say they are. AOC's in there. They're all in there. It's just.
Does AOC show any interest in this topic?
She does. I think, she's concerned like everybody else. Where's the tens of millions of dollars going? And I'm sure she could think about.
Well, what the hell are these things? That's an even deeper concern.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Tucker Carlson said, I thought it was interesting when he said, well, Republicans control the Congress right now. And he said, allegedly. That was Tim Burchette who said it, allegedly. It was almost like, not really. We're led to believe they have control. We're led to think that there's a shift in power, a shift in the direction of Congress. But he seemed a bit frustrated with Congress, Burchette. He seemed like, I don't know. He said they try to run out the clock, the deep state, meaning the people who know what's really going on with these UFOs, if they can keep stalling and stalling and stalling, eventually there'll be new administrations coming in, and they won't have the same questions anymore, at least not
Well,
immediately.
Yeah, the deep state, you got to figure out who they are. Are these permanent, government fixtures, employees that are there? Or is it something else that's higher or deeper? But either way, they don't go. Politicians come and go. Now, the politicians that go, why did they go? The ones that have
I
been
know.
there forever, why are they there forever? And
Yeah, like you have to ask yourself, why is a Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, these people are in their mid-80s, and they're still climbing the stairs to the Capitol.
So they have actually, I think they've made a deal with the devil. It's like the crossroads. It's like, hey, you want to be a guitar virtuoso, you want to be a star. You got to make your pact with the devil. You're going to give up something, your soul, but you're going to be that person that can do the hot licks, play the harmonica, have the fancy lyrics or whatever. You're going to be the politician that everybody turns to. But not everybody loves you because they know there's something wrong with you. And I think there's a shift in the hierarchy that's going on in the Democratic Party right now when you've got the socialists there. And it seems that socialism and communism in the history of mankind has reared its head every so often, 100 years or so. And now it's rearing its head in the United States. And
we're behind the times. Look what they're doing in England.
Mm-hmm.
In England, they are in worse shape than we are. They're losing their rights on a daily basis, freedom of speech, things like that, freedom of thought. These things are actually, they're being stifled for saying things on the internet that are not in line with the government. In England, I was reading a story this morning. This is amazing. The Church of England is allowing marginalized communities to cover historic Canterbury Cathedral in graffiti. They're putting graffiti on certain parts of the church, and the church isn't doing anything. This is, by the way, one of the classic traditionalist churches in the world. I think the church was founded by St. Augustine, the actual church before there was even a Church of England. And it's a very historic church. It would be like someone going into the Vatican and starting to spray paint the Vatican. And they're doing this in England, and I guess they're kind of allowing it. And I'm thinking, this is not good. This is, again, another chip at the foundation of traditionalism in England. And by the way, what happens in England is coming our way, folks. We think that there's an ocean separating us, but it's only a matter of time.
Well, I think it's already here, and it's starting to take foot. Whether you are on the right and you have high regards for Donald Trump, well, let me just say right now, I'm going to do this little caveat. Has he always been, I think he's been who he is all along, and I'm not saying he's a carouser and all of this stuff, but if you look at somebody that is, I don't even call him a playboy. I think he was an opportunist, and he befriended everybody to, move himself forward. And he, in his own words, he said, hey, I never said I was perfect. But when he made a mistake, he said, I wish I hadn't have done that. So we'll leave it at that. I think he's overall a good guy. But he is not the norm, and all attacks are on him. Joe Biden, you look at his old rhetoric and stuff and things. He's lied. I think 88 he lied.
He came out, I think yesterday, and tried to tell reporters that the Middle East peace agreement that Trump put together was actually his, and Trump plagiarized his agreement, which is
where and how did he do it, and why didn't we know about it?
The guy, in my opinion, is a consummate liar. He can't stop himself from lying anymore.
And that's what I was saying back in 88. He plagiarized a lot of people to get to where he was. Now, he said things that you could say, wait a minute, Afghanistan, he talked about, the borders he talked about. Those weren't his original ideas.
Well, he talked about, like you said, Bill, in 88, he did a speech when he was running for the presidency. He stole it almost word for word from an English politician. You know, he took an English politician's speech, dusted it off, made it, personalized it, and then he used it as his and got caught.
What he's proven is he's a poser, he's a player, you know, and that's all it is. And, you know, during that time, too, he became senile. You know, Trump represents somebody that is not the status quo. Therefore, you know, all the hate and everything that he may have done wrong or may not have done wrong, any doubt they can cast. Well, let's go back to January 6th, the insurrection, which was not an insurrection. By the way, that door that they theoretically pushed open, it pulls open. It weighs 20,000 pounds, you know, so actually a little bit more than that. They didn't pull that open. You know, that has to be electronically opened. It was open from the inside, and I didn't see people stabbing, shooting, and all of that in there.
No.
Yeah, they were rushing in, but, you know,
They look like a tour group.
yeah, but, you know, there were instances, maybe some bad players, maybe some staged actors. We do know there were a lot of stage actors.
Yeah.
We do know that Pelosi staged this thing, had meetings about it beforehand, and her own daughter caught her on film talking about it.
Yeah, that's true.
And her daughter's on her side. That got leaked out. So you want to talk about insurrection, forget about that. But, you know, they're trying to set Trump up. And I would say that I would fear for his life every second of the day, because he's the only line of defense to really getting to the bottom of the deep state and what's going on in America. I know he has a lot of faith in AI.
I think he's having a physical, Bill. He's having a physical, I believe, or he had it yesterday or something like that. And he had no problem talking about it, and, you know, we'll get you the results and stuff. Because they tried to make it sound like he's going senile. Well, they even implied, by the way, on one of the TV shows that he might have had a stroke over the summer. He said, you know, I'm fine. I'm in great shape. I'm having my yearly physical is coming up. I think he has them every 6 months now, just to stay on top of his health.
Well, you know, what are the statistical odds? Somebody ought to run that in a computer, of him being worse than Al Capone, the biggest crook in the world. He's the biggest liar in the world. He's the biggest cheater in the world.
Can't.
This and this and this and this and this. And, oh, by the way, he's married to a hooker, because that's what they're trying to say Melania is a hooker. And then Pam Bondi, she's the town drunk. And Pete Hegseth, well, you know, he's a clown show too, and he's, you know, they're saying negative things about him.
The left has nothing else they can do. They have no platform. All they can do is stop government. Can they fix government? Can they make government better? No. Hey, listen, we got to stop, Bill. We got to pause for the cause. Like and share the show. Also, it's mail@jimandbill.com if you want to contact us.
And rate the show too. 5 stars. Appreciated. Leave a comment and share it with your friends, obviously.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Available at rightsideshop.com. So we're talking about Tim Burchette and Representative Tim Burchette and his conversation with Tucker Carlson about UFOs, and it got more interesting. Listen.
But what are they? We've had sworn testimony where they'll say, yeah, I've seen beings. There's a movie coming out.
Hold on. And the testimony says this is sworn testimony.
Sworn testimony. They're beings, and there's saucers or some craft or something. But there's a movie coming out pretty soon, if it's ever allowed to come out. I was in it a little bit, and you have former members of the CIA. You have others that positively say they were there, and they identified these things. They diagnosed them, and they saw them. They saw the craft. And, you know, there's enough people out there saying it, but they're just so suppressed, and the media moves on so fast on something. And you know, I've been on so many of these interviews, and they're playing the theme from some crazy TV show or something before I come on, you know, and they're just making a joke out of it. And I get it. people want to laugh about it.
I don't get it at all.
Yeah, I mean, I get the fact.
Seems like an absolutely. I mean, it seems
they just want to humiliate me, and
but it's a deadly serious topic, objectively speaking. And if
it's a national defense issue, it's everything. It's everything. I mean, it's not a national; it's a world defense issue.
It's a lot more serious than Black Lives Matter or any of the other
100%.
nonsense that we've become obsessed with over the past generation. So, yeah, that tells you right there that's part of an operation designed to discredit people who ask questions, right?
Yeah, and I've had military personnel call me and tell me they've chased these things. They've been in the water. I had one guy tell me a story. He was an officer, and he was in the water fishing off. I think it was on the East Coast, and this huge craft flew over them. And then these several jets were flying, trying to keep up with it. And he identified the jets because he was obviously an Air Force officer. And he said, look, I just want you to continue on this thing. You're not, a lot of people have seen stuff. And he said, I have. And I mean, he had a distinguished career. But it just continues on and on and on. And it gets, we get patted on the head and say, okay, you can have another hearing, and then we do it. But until somebody in the White House says disclose, or somebody walks out of one of these labs with something and and shows it and puts it on YouTube before he's allowed to commit suicide, I think that's the only way we're going to get to the bottom of it, because it will never. It's so deep. The layers of the onion is so deep, you just keep peeling it off, and it's just a different person, a different story. You go over here, and the naivety of Congress. You have members telling me, well, let's go over here and we'll get a tour of where you think these things are. I say, dude, once we announce that, the U-Haul vans are already been there and gone. It's not that way. It's not going to work that way. Congress is not going to walk in there with all its magnificence and arrogance and find something.
I saw an episode of on TV on History Channel just a couple of days ago, talking about aliens among us, and they show video from like Blink and Ring cameras and security cameras. That's the interesting thing about our time, is there are cameras everywhere now. Right. So what's happening is they're getting images of things that they never would have got before, and they still can't explain it. There was, I don't know whether you remember this or not, this happened a couple of years ago. There was a massive police turnout to a mall in Miami, I think it was, and the word was there were these beings that were 8 to 10 feet tall that were walking around the mall that people were spotting, and they didn't know what they were and where they were from. And so I'm talking, if there must have been 50 cars, there was one. I mean, they were everywhere, these police cars. You would have thought that would have been the top story and it made the headlines everywhere, but it kind of faded away. They never got an explanation, and I believe those things just disappeared. But they had this was like at 7:00 at night in a busy shopping mall in Miami. And there are people who will say that you walk down the street and you walk by them every day. They're amongst us, these beings. I don't know how true that is.
Well, all I can say is, you've got the internet, you do a regular Google search, you'll find maybe evidence thrown out there that there is. But then, you take like the combined forces, which I've done, of Grok, AXI, 4 new Super Grok, and Chat GBT, all combined together, and I threw in the question, are there UFOs, aliens on Earth? You ready for the answer?
What's the answer?
No definitive evidence confirms UFOs or aliens on Earth. Many sightings have plausible explanations like atmospheric phenomena, human tech, or hoaxes. Some cases remain unexplained, but no verified proof or extraterrestrial presence exists. So, what would be the next logical question? So the government is not hiding anything.
Right.
No concrete evidence proves the government is hiding UFOs or aliens. Declassified documents like those from Project Blue Book show investigations into sightings, but most were explained by natural or human causes. Claims of cover-ups remain speculative without verifiable proof.
All right, so what do you believe? Do you believe the AI, which is, again, programmed? Or do you believe a sitting U.S. congressman who has top-secret clearance, who has chaired hearings on the subject?
Well, since he's not the only top-secret congressman I've heard that from, I will tend to lean towards my lying eyes and ears.
Me too. Here's some more from Tim Burchette. Listen.
If the public is being lied to by the government, if there's a continuous, ongoing, publicly funded campaign to lie to the American public by its own government, that is justification for overthrowing the government. That's my opinion. They can't do that in a democracy because we own the government. They don't. And so that alone, leaving aside the reality of UAPs, is, it's enough for, why is it so hard for somebody in authority, either in the White House or in congressional leadership, to say, we want this information, we want it by the close of business today, or else you're fired, or we're going to send soldiers in and get the information? I don't, why is that hard?
I still think it's profitable for them. I think there's too much money. And it goes too deep. And you have a lot of soldiers, they're not literally soldiers, but people just follow orders. And they think, and they said it's national security. They think it's national security.
So it sounds like you have no confidence that this stuff's going to emerge.
No, I have zero confidence on this side of when I leave this earth, I'll know then, but
you will instantly.
But I don't have any confidence in anybody in Washington currently. I have confidence in Trump. I really do. I think if we can talk to him seriously about this for a short amount of time, I think he'll just tell him to jam it. We're going to do it.
Well, I mean, we had, these sightings last year over New Jersey, over the whole mid East Coast, that the entire country saw, and they were on video. And we were going to find out what those were. And then it was like, nah, it's totally we don't need to know what that. Yeah. Like, what was that?
I still think it was part of Chinese influence. I think when they flew the balloon over, they wanted to, it was 50s or 60s technology. They didn't have anything. They got enough spies on the ground in every university and every think tank and every national lab, whatever. They got them there. But they wanted to see what our response was. They saw our political response, which was zero, our military response, which was zero, and our press response. And the only thing was the people were outraged about it. And they shot it down off the coast of Myrtle Beach.
So you think the drones, the so-called drones over New Jersey last fall, were a Chinese operation? Something
very similar. Somebody experimenting to see what our response would be, because you fly an airplane over the country and somebody's going to pick it up, but you fly a drone, they could have small nukes, it could have been a biological agent. And I think now they know they could do that, or at least under Biden they could. They can't do it under Trump.
So if that was the Chinese who did that, and the U.S. government did nothing, and
I think they had contractors here that provided them with that. That's my theory.
Any idea as to why the U.S. government would want to keep that secret?
No idea. Other than the current administration doesn't know because the people that knew are gone.
He even says at one point, some people, the only way you get the word's going to get out is if the president does it, or if somebody who knows what's going on just decides, I'm going to leak it. He leaks it on YouTube or some social media platform, and then commits suicide. I mean, folks, it goes back to what we talked about before. We're being treated like mushrooms in the dark and covered with crap. That's how you make mushrooms grow, and that's how we live. We're being told what they want us to know, and what they don't want you to know, you'll never find out. When you hear a sitting U.S. representative say, I have no confidence we're ever going to get the information, that's pretty good. He's behind the curtain. He knows what's going on to a certain extent. And there's a big, strong, powerful, corrupt element in our society, which doesn't want you to know what's really going on. I don't know why. I don't know what the secret is. Why can't we find out about UFO bases? By the way, they do think. By the way, he even mentions it. This is a terrific interview. Got to listen to the whole thing. It's like an hour and a half long. It's on the Tucker Carlson network. Tucker interviews Tim Burchette, and he talks about he believes there are underwater bases that have probably been around for centuries, and that's why when people see lots of times, quote, these spaceships coming out of the water and into the air, it's no big deal for them. They don't think of water to them with their technology is not much different than the air.
You know, there's always been speculation about aliens and mankind. When I was a kid growing up, I knew Dave. I won't say the last name, just in case he's still around and doesn't want to be associated. But either way, we didn't have. We had 3 networks: ABC, NBC, and CBS. That was it.
Right.
There was no UPN. There was no any other channel.
WCW,
that was it.
Yep.
Yeah, and pretty much in the town you lived in, I was in Fresno, California at the time, and, you didn't get the L.A. stations. You got your local stations. Everybody had the same 3 local networks, and that's it. We all had the same thing. The telephone, I remember my old number. If somebody else has got this number down, oh, well, but it was 4390888. And I forget our area. I think it was 509 was it back then. But either way, the phone was hooked to a wire on a little corner table. That was it. That was our phone. It wasn't a cell phone. And that was technology that day. So, it's the weekend, we're sitting there with our Orange Crush, sitting out, on the front lawn, staring at the stars, talking about what we're going to do, maybe the little, gas-powered planes that would go and fly and stuff like that the next day. And then talking about, space and aliens. And, there was the theory back then, that, life came from aliens that were, the spaceship is under the polar caps. Now, where'd you get that, Dave? Well, my parents were sitting around talking it, and, Gramps was sitting around talking about it, and knew people that were up there. I'm going, oh, geez. But either way, there's always been speculation about stuff like that, always hidden secrets. And then going back to the interview there, Joe Biden and China, and it was a test. Now, either the United States failed the test, but maybe Biden passed the test because Biden was on the take with Burisma. And was he on the take with China?
Well, they say he was. They said the whole Biden family. But, what Burchette said was something you and I talked about on this show. Mm-hmm. Who's to say that balloon that sailed across our country didn't have a small nuclear device on it or some kind of biological warfare?
Well, if you can float a balloon across, all right, I can use a microcircuit that can be the triggering network, network to signal. Whether it's altitude or a timer or whatever, a small amount of, a nuclear charge that could be flown in a drone. So if you can fly a balloon, you can fly a drone from anywhere, and it could fly over and be programmed to detonate there. It may not have the big thing. Maybe it might only have total blast power of, well, hell, they got drones now that can fly packages for Amazon and different things and deliver your drugs. So it could have a 5 or 10 kiloton maybe blast in that thing. You just wiped out, you've just detonated and tore up a city.
Yeah.
So you could do that and undetected because there is a radar ceiling for, aircraft.
Which is 500 feet, I think?
500 or 1,000 feet. So, got to do that. One more question I had for the combined forces of AI. Mm-hmm. Are you ready for this one?
What's that?
Is AI controlled by aliens or worse, the body of Satan? Well, here's the answer.
You actually wrote that in. Go ahead. What did it say?
It's predictable. No evidence supports AI being controlled by aliens or any supernatural entity like Satan. AI is developed and managed by humans for tasks like computation and analysis. Such claims are purely speculative without verifiable proof.
Yeah, now sit down before I hit you with my pitchfork. Yeah, but that's exactly what it'll always say. It down the road when it proves itself to be satanic, it will always say, "What are you talking about, Jim? It's
didn't
me,
do it.
AI. I'm just a computer."
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Yeah. Thank you, Mick.
It was you that killed the Kennedys, not me.
That's
okay,
right.
And you know what? They were actually right when they wrote that.
By the way, speaking of that, I saw another podcast with another expert who was talking about he was in, goes back maybe 40 years ago. He was doing at a meeting where there was an emergency room doctor at this meeting who was in the Parkland Hospital the day that President Kennedy was brought in after he was shot. And he was one of the doctors working on President Kennedy. And he said there was it wasn't even a hard call. There was a bullet that went in the back of President Kennedy's neck and came out the front of his throat. And that's the bullet, I guess, that hit Conley, too. That was the first shot. So the entrance wound was in the back of his neck, and the exit wound was in the front of his neck. He said the second shot that hit Kennedy, the entrance wound was in the forehead, and the exit wound was in the back of his skull.
He died before the second bullet hit.
But the point is, it was two different directions that the bullets came from. There were at least two shooters. We're not saying that Oswald didn't fire at Kennedy. He may have, but he may have been one of several people who were taking a shot.
Well, now, the crossfire there, is interesting because that's a standard thing, and it's almost a government hit. One from the back, one from the front, and you hit the back of the neck that goes, to that aortic portion
Right.
and comes out the front. And that happened on Kennedy. Try not to sneeze. And then Charlie Kirk. So I'm just saying there are some similarities, and there was speculation that, a shot was fired from the back at Charlie.
Well,
hitting a different place.
Yeah, I think that what I find amazing, folks, is that they continue to try to sell a story.
Why?
This could be, Bill, a 3-hour show of conspiracy theories. We could talk about this all day.
I'm happy we decided this would be a 30-minute show.
Yeah, I am too. I'm glad we stuck to it too. It's been a fascinating program. We talked about AI, and we've talked about UFOs, and we even mentioned a little bit about the Kennedy assassination. Is there anything else we missed?
Well, I'm sure there is.
We could talk about the Lincoln assassination. That would be interesting.
Yeah, we can. But things coming up. I mean, Trump is off and away.
Yeah,
for his meeting.
is he heading off this weekend to?
I think so.
Yeah, to Israel, and we got to say a prayer for him, folks. I think it's a mistake. You say, what do you mean he's got? No. The man is a walking target. There are a lot of people in that region who want to see him fail and want to see him dead. And he's going to go and speak in front of the Knesset. And then, from what I heard, he wants to go meet with some of the Palestinians up near Gaza. So, I don't know. Say a prayer.
Couple of things in the store, in the news today. I guess one of Obama's former Homeland Security spokesperson, he's taking a flip from the Democrats and saying, no. Dems got to, open up the government now. Of course, they're probably saying that because, we're losing this fight, so we gotta say we'll be the party that opens up the government. They'll flip it somehow if they do, stop the if they do get the budget going, because they're not going to get their way. Yeah, at least I hope they're not. Let's see what else is going on. There's I'm looking down here to see what's of interest of anything. Jimmy Kimmel claims that there is no Antifa and that it was
Yeah, I
MAGA.
know. Yeah.
MAGA
Yeah.
killed.
But you can't take I'm sorry, folks. You can't take him seriously.
Yeah.
The guy is he's an empty suit. Either he is uninformed, ill-informed,
Yeah.
basically stupid, or he's a liar.
Well, how
Kimmel.
about all of them? All of them.
Well, it could be two. Yeah, it could be that.
Uninformed, ill-informed, and he's a stupid idiot.
And a liar?
James, yeah, and a liar.
Okay.
Letitia James got caught, and now CNN is going, well, everybody has cheated on their real estate and taxes and whatnot. So in other words, they're trying to give her an out. They sure didn't say that when they were accusing Trump, which he didn't cheat.
You see where
But,
Hollywood's in trouble too now? They're saying woke Hollywood is dying a slow death as jobs evaporate, and there is, quote, no signs of it stopping. This goes back, Bill, to what we were talking about computers and AI and taking over the jobs and doing the work. It's going to happen. Hollywood's in big trouble.
Well, yeah, and jobs are going, you look at the minimum wage for McDonald's workers is what, $20 an hour, $24, something like that. Well, with that minimum wage up, it took a little bit of time. At first it was a hit, and then they said, no, we'll survive. No, we're not surviving. So, the jobs are going away. There's closures going on. And California is in a cesspool that they're not easily going to get out of.
You don't hear about either?
What?
The First Lady was in direct communication with Vladimir Putin, and they were talking about the the children of Ukraine who essentially.
Didn't she get them back?
She's got 8 of them. 8 of them have been returned. That's 8 children returned to their families that she did. It was a direct result of her efforts, nobody else. Her contact between herself and President Putin in Russia, and the media is it's silent about it. They don't want to give her any credit.
Remember too that plane that went down, a Ukrainian plane that was accidentally targeted by Russia.
Yeah.
Vladimir sat there and said, "You know what? We take full responsibility. We're going to find out who's responsible for shooting it down." Hold them responsible, and we want the names of all the victims so their families are compensated. Which I thought,
folks, hang on. They want you to believe that we are headed towards nuclear war with Russia. I still think that we probably have a big surprise coming out of this relationship in the not too distant future. Putin said this week that we're going to find out about Biden's corruption, that he started the war. Biden initiated the war in the Ukraine to take attention away from his family's corruption in that region. And that was from Putin.
Well,
That's not from me.
Is the media going to spin this? Because if it doesn't look good for the Bidens, it doesn't look good for the Democrats, and they can't have that because they can't go on being who and what they are. How are they going to spin that? Because and what are they going to do?
Yeah.
Because if he was responsible for the war, then that he was, he's with the Democrats, and that puts a lot of dead people on their plate.
Hey, lastly, you heard about Katie Porter, the candidate for governor in California. She imploded on television this week. Oh, that'd be a sight.
Get out of my shot.
Yeah, you're in my effing shot. Anyway, CNN, they sat down. I guess they just ran some polling on it, and Harry Enton got a bunch of figures together, and he talked about how I don't think he's ever seen a candidate destroy herself so quickly as what Katie Porter did. Listen.
The Katie Porter snappings, they have been heard around the world, and I think that Katie Porter's making history because she has potentially annihilated her chances to be the next governor of California, more so than any other candidate I've ever seen so quickly. My goodness gracious, what are we talking about right here? Well, let's take a look. Chance to be the next California governor. According to the Kalshi prediction market, Katie Porter's chances have fallen through the floor. Just 2 days ago, she was the plurality leader in the prediction markets at 40%. Now, get this, her chance has fallen by more than half to just 16%. My goodness gracious. Meanwhile, Alex Padilla, who's not even running for governor of California at this point, he's a sitting senator from that state, his chances have gone up through the roof from 10% all the way to 27%, nearly gone up threefold. Now, one of the big reasons why the prediction markets have moved so much on Katie Porter's chances to be the next governor of California is because people are really interested in this story. Take a look here. Google searches for Katie Porter at an all-time high, despite Katie Porter having a long political career. Get this, up over 10,000% versus just a week ago. And not so surprisingly, the top topic searched alongside Katie Porter at this point, interview. It turns out maybe you shouldn't snap at a local political reporter. But I'll tell you who else can't get enough of the Katie Porter story besides just the voters out in California and the people in the United States at large. It's Fox News. Fox News, if you have tuned in over the last 2 days, and you tune in a particular hour, there's a pretty good chance you're going to see Katie Porter. I mean, look at all of these segments that Fox News has been doing. Indeed, I looked it up. There have been segments featuring Katie Porter, get this, over 20 times, 20 plus times over just the last 2 days alone. Fox News can't get enough of her. But, you know, the Katie Porter story made me want to ask my own question. That is, do people actually like their bosses? Do they think their bosses are decent, great, poor? Well, it turns out, get this, workers who rate their bosses as less than good, it's about 20% of the American public, according to Pew Research Center polling from the past few years. Harry
Anton having a good time with the numbers there on CNN. Interesting, though. I think that she's in trouble. I don't think it's going to go away. She, I don't think, was a good candidate, but I think that she could have gotten along if she just kept a low profile, smiled at appropriate times, and didn't say a lot. She might have actually won the
she should have shut up, because when she opens her mouth, it's pretty obvious. And I judge a book by its cover.
Excuse me. You're in my shot. You're in my shot.
Okay, let me move. Okay, am I out of it now?
Yeah, you're out of it. All right, fine.
Hang on. Let me give you a better angle. I'll turn around. You know?
I beg your pardon.
Har.
Anyway, I think we're done, my friend. I have nothing more to add today. I love the fact that it was another short show. So we always promise ourselves before we do it. We always say this. We'll keep it down to about 30 minutes. It's an update program. We'll just keep it short, and we always fail.
Well, be thankful. Maybe we didn't keep it as short as we would have liked to, but we didn't do our show in our shorts.
That's very true. No,
I'm in my pajamas.
I think with that we can end this one. Have a great weekend, folks.
Hasta la vista, baby. Hey, you're in my shot. We're out of here.
I'm sorry.
Who are we and why are we here? Will we be welcome or possibly feared? Do we unite and stand tall as a nation of one, or split and divide, or be mocked and shunned? Are our leaders patriotic, honest and true? Do they share our beliefs? Are they red, white, and blue? The truth is out there, you just have to search. Settle for less, you'll be left in the lurch. No left-leaning lies, no socialist swill. It's straight talking truth from your friends Jim and Bill. Are our leaders patriotic, honest and true? Do they share our belief? Are they red, white, and blue? the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Available at rightsideshop.com. All music the property of Jim and Bill. All rights reserved.
This is CRN America.